You finally took a break, you slept longer, ignored your emails, stopped studying, tried to relax, but somehow you felt worse. Your body felt heavier, your motivation disappeared, even simple tasks suddenly felt exhausting. And that creates a dangerous thought. Maybe I'm just lazy, but here's the truth most people never realize. Your brain doesn't instantly switch from survival mode to recovery mode. In fact, when stress suddenly disappears, the nervous system can temporarily crash. Not because you're weak, because your brain has been running on emergency fuel for too long. Draw a stick figure sleeping peacefully in bed. Next to the bed, draw a giant battery charging from 10% to 100%. Suddenly, the battery still flashes low power. Zoom inside the battery and reveal a hidden app labeled Stress, draining energy in the background. Stress is deceptive. When you're under pressure for weeks or months, your brain releases cortisol and adrenaline to keep you functioning. These chemicals are survival tools. They temporarily increase focus, alertness, and endurance. That's why some people become strangely productive during crisis periods. Students during exams, workers before deadlines, people surviving emotional chaos. The brain says, we don't have time to feel tired right now, but there's a hidden cost. Your brain is borrowing energy from your future self. Imagine using a credit card every single day just to survive. Eventually, the bill arrives. And rest is often the moment the bill finally shows up. Because once the emergency ends, the nervous system stops suppressing exhaustion. That's why people often crash after stressful periods, not during them. Draw a stick figure running with rocket flames behind him. Then show the fuel tank labeled Emergency Energy. The tank slowly empties while warning lights blink everywhere. Now draw the character finally sitting down to rest and instantly collapsing like a puppet with cut strings. Here's something even stranger. Your brain can become addicted to stress. Not because stress feels good, but because stimulation becomes normal. When your life is filled with deadlines, notifications, pressure, and constant urgency, your brain adapts to high dopamine activity. And dopamine is not really the happiness chemical, it's the anticipation chemical. It pushes you toward action, toward chasing, toward constant movement. So when you suddenly rest, normal life feels emotionally flat. Quiet feels uncomfortable. Stillness feels wrong. Your brain mistakes calmness for boredom. And boredom often feels like weakness. This is why many burnt out people feel anxious during free time. The nervous system has forgotten how to exist without stimulation. Draw a hamster running insanely fast on a wheel labeled productivity. Around the wheel, draw floating icons, notifications, deadlines, coffee cups, alarms. Now suddenly stop the wheel. The hamster falls over and looks confused. Then draw tiny shadow monsters around him labeled overthinking and guilt. Most people misunderstand rest. They think rest means doing nothing. But your brain doesn't heal just because your body stopped moving. You can lie in bed all day and still feel mentally exhausted. Why? Because real recovery requires safety. And many high stress people never truly feel safe. Even while resting, their brain keeps scanning for danger. What if I'm falling behind? What if people think I'm lazy? What if I lose control? So the nervous system never fully powers down. It's like charging your phone while dozens of apps run in the background. The charger is connected, but the battery barely moves. Draw a phone plugged into a charger. The battery increases by 1%, then drops again. Now open the phone screen and show apps running in the background. Fear, deadlines, comparison, self-doubt. Then draw a giant finger pressing close all apps. The battery finally starts charging normally, and here's the dangerous part. When people feel weak after resting, they often attack themselves. They force more productivity, more pressure, more self-hate. But exhaustion is not always laziness. Sometimes it's accumulated survival fatigue. Your nervous system is asking for recovery, not punishment. And recovery doesn't begin with huge life changes. It begins with small signals of safety. Tiny moments where your brain learns, we are no longer in danger. That's how neuroplasticity works. The brain slowly rewires itself through repeated experiences, not through motivation speeches, through repetition. So here's something simple you can do today. For 10 minutes, sit somewhere without stimulation. No phone, no music, no scrolling, and notice how quickly your brain tries to escape the silence. That discomfort matters because you're finally meeting the exhaustion your distractions were hiding. Don't fight it immediately, just observe it. Over time, your nervous system slowly relearns that stillness is not dangerous. Draw a person sitting quietly in an empty room. Phones and notifications float around them like ghosts trying to pull them away. The person almost reaches for the phone, but stops. Then the distractions slowly disappear one by one. Finally, draw tangled wires inside the brain, slowly untangling themselves. If you feel weak after resting, it does not automatically mean you're lazy. Sometimes it means your body finally stopped hiding the damage. And strangely enough, that can be the beginning of healing. Because the moment you stop calling yourself lazy, you start asking better questions. What has my nervous system been carrying? What am I actually recovering from? And those questions can change your life. So if this video made you feel understood, subscribe, not just for motivation, but to join a community of people trying to rebuild their minds instead of simply surviving. And remember this: machines ignore exhaustion until they break. Human beings can pause, recover, and come back stronger.